Hello, I hope you're having a truly blessed day today. My name is Joyce Arlene De Bangay and I'd like to share with you my understanding of math so far. So if you're like me and not too fond of solving difficult math problems involving algebra or other formulas, then this video is for you. So instead of diving into complex equation, we will simply talk about patterns. Yes, mathematics is full of patterns, and the best part is you don't need to solve hard equations to appreciate them. That's why I choose this topic. It's the one area of math that feels easy and enjoyable for me because I might not be a mathematical genius, but I believe anyone can see the beauty of math through patterns. So this is our topic for today. Recently, I explored mathematical patterns in nature since we had to do a project with that topic, and it really struck me that this is how mathematics connects to our natural world. So in this discussion, we will look at those fascinating connections, how mathematical patterns appear all around us in nature that often unnoticed, but once we begin to see them, we will learn to appreciate the natural world even more deeply. So first, let's define kung ano nga ba ang pattern. A pattern is a regular, repeated, or recurring form, design, or sequence that can be observed in many aspects of life. Kung papakinggan natin ang isang kanta, may isip natin mayroong pattern doon. Kapag may paulit-ulit na himig. Kapag naman sa disenyo ng sahig or tiles, makikita naman tayo ng iba't ibang linya at hugis. Sa mga halaman, yung mga arrangement ng dahon, bulaklak at kahit yung mga sanga ng puno. Sa mga grocery stores naman ay sa pamamagitan ng pagkakaayos ng produkto at maging sa mga traffic area ay sa pamamagitan naman ng paulit-ulit na pagdaloy ng mga sasakyan. Ito yung mga bagay na inaakala natin ay natural lang sa paningin natin at hindi rin natin agad maiisip na may bahagi ito ng mathematical patterns. At dahil din dito ay mas nauunawaan natin ang mundo sa pamamagitan ng mga bagay na nakapaligid sa atin. Ito yung mga rason na maaari nating gawing dahilan kung bakit nakakatulong at kung ano ang koneksyon ng patterns sa ating natural na mundo. So through patterns, we better understand the world around us. Also can learn to predict the future and discover new things. Sa mga professionals na kagaya ng mga detective, investigators o police, madalas sila sa pag-iimbestiga nila sa crime scene ay gumagamit sila ng pattern para idedak kung ano ang tunay na nangyari sa isang krimen. Meron din sa mga guro, nagtuturo sila ng mga pattern para mapahusay ang pagkakatuto ng mga estudyante. Sa pag-asa, sinusuri nila yung pattern ng hangin, ulan at bagyo para makapagbigay sila ng prediction at impormasyon sa panahon. Sa mga financial markets, sinusuri nila yung patterns ng pagtaas at pagbaba ng presyo ng stocks. Sa visual clues na maaaring makagawa po ng solusyon sa isang problema. Kapag nakakita ng pattern, nagiging mas madali pag-isipan ang nakatagong kaayusan. Halimbawa na lang kung paulit-ulit ang galaw ng trapiko, maaaring baguhin ang ruta upang makaiwas sa siksikan. So now we will proceed. What are those patterns look like when it applies in our natural world, like plants, insects, foods, etc. So we have these different types of mathematical patterns that can be found in nature. So first we have the symmetry, which is a study of invariance in nature, as it refers to a structure that allows an object to be divided into parts of equal shape and size, as well as regularities that appear during natural events or changes. So yung concept ng symmetry ay ginagamit para maipaliwanag o maisalarawan ang pagbuo ng mga patterns. Sa madaling salita, ang katangian ng symmetry ay ang pagkakaroon ng halos magkatulad na bahagi, magkaharap man o nakaikot sa paligid ng isang axis. So, meron tayong iba't ibang uri ng symmetry. Una ay ang bilateral symmetry o tinatawag din nating reflection symmetry. It is the simplest symmetry that is easy to identify because one half is just identical to the other half. So, kung makikita natin sa mga examples, yung turtles, butterfly wings, fruit fly, sharks, at normal human body, nag-exhibit sila ng identical reflection to their other half. Sa mga mountains naman, pag nagre-reflect sila sa malinaw na tubig ng dagat, nagpaproduce siya ng identical mirror image. Yung pangalawa naman na type ng symmetry ay ang rotational symmetry na tinatawag din nating radial symmetry. So this only occurs when a shape or figure can be rotated or turned around a central point and still look exactly the same. The number of times the figure matches itself during one full rotation at 360 degrees is called its order of rotational symmetry. So let's analyze first the plant example. The four-leaf clover radiates from the central point and has an even space around it. It has an order for rotational symmetry because it will just look the same for every 90-degree turn. Ganon din sa actinomorphic flower or lilies. Yung petals niya ay naka-arrange evenly sa central axis as it has an order 6 rotational symmetry that matches the 60-degree rotation. Sa orange slice naman, meron 10 segments, so it has an order 10 rotational symmetry that matches 36-degree rotation. Sa mga animals naman, yung starfish, meron siyang 5 arms, so it has an order 5 rotational symmetry that matches every 72 degrees rotation, which is ang starfish ay classic example din ng symmetry sa mga marine animals. Sa polyp coral naman ay meron silang 8 tentacles, so the order would be equals to 8 with every 45-degree rotation. Lastly ay yung sand dollars. Nag-exhibit sila ng 5-fold rotational symmetry with order 5. Hindi lang masyadong clear sa picture. Yet their body can be rotated by 72 degrees around the central axis and it still look the same. Next, we have the point symmetry. Dito naman nangyayari siya kapag ang bawat bahagi ng isang hugis ay may katumbas na bahagi ng pantay ang layo sa opposite direction from the central axis. At kapag inikot mo siya ng 180 degrees, magkakapareho pa rin ang itsura nila. Sa first example natin, which is snowflakes, kapag nirotate natin siya ng 180 degrees around its center, its overall structure will look the same, like each arm has a matching counterpart that is directly opposite. So nasasatisfy niyo yung condition ng point symmetry na kada part ay nire-reflect niya ang isang part na magkaiba yung direksyon. So, ganun din naman sa second example natin, which is yung for propeller ng fan, where it will also satisfy the condition for point symmetry. Overall, this example of different types of symmetry mathematical pattern we found in plants or animals makes more this organism interesting. Like those traits they exhibit has a relationship with mathematics. So other than those symmetrical patterns, we can also find more, like spirals. In mathematics, a spiral is a curve that emanates from a central point and moves farther away as it revolves around that point. So let's examine these Nautilus shells where it grows outward in a spiral that maintains its shapes as it expands. Tinatawag din itong logarithmic spiral kung saan yung mga Nautilus ay bumubuo ng kanilang chamber habang lumalaki sila. Pare-pareho yung hugis pero yung distansya sa pagitan nila ay tumataas habang yung angle ay nananatiling constant. For our next pattern is all about fractals, or what we call self-symmetry. Is a complex structure that repeats themselves at different scales. Due to their repeating nature, they look similar at both the large-scale perspective and the small-scale perspective. Habang tumatagal o tumatanda yung mga puno, yung kanilang mga sanga ay nagkakaroon ng mas maliliit na sanga na kalaunan ay lalaki rin. Sa ganitong paraan, nagpapatuloy ang siklo ng paglago ng puno hanggang sa huling yugto ng kanilang buhay. For our example number 2, which is yung lightning, makikita natin meron siyang branching structure dahil hindi naman ito nagtatravel within a straight line, but it split and branches out in jog paths, kagaya lang ng limbs ng puno, river system, or blood vessels. For the last picture or our last example, which is yung Yukon River, trivia or fact lang na yung Yukon River ay nahahati sa napakaraming distributary channels bago pa siya tuluyang mag-merge sa Bering Sea ng Alaska. Makikita natin na mayroon din siyang branching patterns kung saan yung river ay nahahati talaga sa maliliit na streams. So nakakatulong yon sa pagdidistribute ng water, sediments, nutrients across the landscape, kagaya lang ng ugat ng mga living organism. Now let's move on to our last mathematical pattern, which is all about tessellation, where it defines as the covering of a plane using one or more geometric shapes called tiles with no overlaps and no gaps. So yung tessellation ay pwedeng gawa siya ng polygons kagaya ng triangles, squares, rectangles, hexagon, at minsan ay kombinasyon ng mga iba't ibang polygons, so their pattern can repeat endlessly in all direction, making it both mathematically precise and visually appealing. Ito naman yung tatlong uri ng tessellation, kung saan yung regular tessellation ay gawa sa repetition ng mga single polygon na nag-exist lang sa equilateral triangles, squares, at hexagon. While sa semi-regular tessellation naman ay gumagamit ng dalawa or madaming naka-arrange na regular polygons para yung each vertex ay identical. Lastly ay yung non-periodic tessellation ay mga patterns naman na walang regular repetition kagaya ng Penrose tailings. Ito yung mga examples kung saan makakita tayo ng tessellation patterns. Sa unang picture ay pineapple kung saan covered siya ng hexagonal segment where each of those is snuggling next to each other, which forms a repeating pattern that wraps around the fruit with no gaps or overlaps. Its type of tessellation could be semi-irregular due to irregular shapes that may vary in biological size and angles. Our next example is honeycomb of bees, which is the most famous example of tessellation, as we all know that it is made of hexagonal cells that each one fits perfectly next to the other without gaps or overlaps. This type of tessellation can be identified as regular tessellation since the honeycomb formed an identical regular hexagon. For our last example, which is the tortoise shell, a type of semi-regular tessellation where it's all made of scutes or yung individual shape like hexagon and pentagons, where it all fits together, forming a repetitive pattern across the curved surface of the shell. And that wraps up our discussion. I hope you all enjoyed the time spent listening to this simple yet meaningful mathematical topic. Through this, we've seen how math reveals the hidden beauty of our natural world, showing us that mathematics plays a huge role in everything around us. We could say that math is truly a part of our lives, and wherever we look in places objects, and patterns, math is always present. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig at sa oras na inilaan nyo sa panonood ng video na ito. Naway mas lalo niyong ma-appreciate ang ating kalikasan at matuklasan ang nakatagong ganda nito sa loob at labas, sa anyo at kaayusan. God bless you always and stay safe. Bye-bye!